Welcome to Market Movers, Kristina. Pleasure to have you here today.
Oh,
Very excited.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And we're excited to hear your story and hear a little bit more about what 6 Degrees offers the community in San Diego, as well as, new initiatives you're pursuing with the company, the history behind the company, a lot of great things. Going to the event last week, it was a pleasure to meet everyone and kind of get in with the community and see how it operates. And, really, really enjoyed meeting just the few people I had a pleasure meeting. So I think what you're doing for the community, like really tailoring these experiences and conversations for people is not really happening very much. And I like that you're helping people kind of break the ice initially too.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely a need for people in business and people in general.
Yeah.
Especially after being so disconnected from each other during a pandemic.
Yeah.
So coming back and being really intentional and helping people understand how to communicate more effectively to strengthen relationships.
That's great. If you want to dive a little bit into your story and your experience, maybe before 6 Degrees.
Sure. It's an interesting background. I've moved around quite a bit in my life. So I was born in Kansas and have lived in Texas, Mexico, Arizona, ended up back in Kansas for most of school was there and ended up staying there to go to K-State as well, majored in theater. So nothing business related that I'm doing now. And at the same time, so many of my just people skills were developed through that type of program. And after graduating from college, I ended up moving up to Chicago. Mm-hmm. And of course, as a theater major, ended up in hospitality to be able to afford the bills and everything. So I really got sucked into the hospitality world. Once I was there, I worked at several different bars and restaurants, and it was definitely fun. And I learned a lot, even more with the people skills and just how to quickly develop relationships, because there's only so much time that you really have, or that I was really talking to a patron. Mm-hmm. So just a lot of soft skills, people skills that were developed during all of those years. And then the pandemic happened and shut all that down. Mm-hmm. I had already been planning on moving to San Diego with my husband. We had talked about it since the first few months that we started dating. Yeah. And said, let's just do it anyway. It's a scary time, but I think this is what we both want at this time. And we wanted to get out of the winter and just try a different city. And Eric had never moved anywhere else besides being local to Chicago. So for him, it was a really big jump. And for me, of course, because I've been moving around all my life, it was just another city, another place to go to. And so when we moved here, I was still in unemployment from the pandemic. I made it a goal not to jump back into hospitality once that did start to open back up. Yeah. Started looking for what opportunities might make sense. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. Yeah. I was out there just searching and seeing where I could put my skills to use. Yeah. And that's when I met the owners of 6 Degrees at the time, just through kind of LinkedIn first and doing some outreach. And I was really drawn into how this community, and at that time it was still only virtual, mm-hmm. but how they were really supporting each other, not just by making an introduction that means business, but actually helping with challenges that they're facing. So I could just see that. I could see that how everyone was really coming together, kind of fitting together like a puzzle piece, all these different industries that I knew nothing about. Yeah. I was coming in so blind and quickly had to learn just all the moving parts and where people overlap and who a really good power partner can be. Mm-hmm. So it was fascinating. It was terrifying. It was a lot of information, and it was really fun just to dive into that. Yeah.
So the initial concept wasn't really starting from scratch. You acquired the business.
Right. We did acquire the business. So 6 Degrees has been around San Diego since about 2007. Mm-hmm. And it's gone through different ownerships. It's gone through different just iterations of what it really has been for the community. Yeah. So when we purchased it, and so it was working for 6 Degrees for about 6 months. And then that's when the owners offered us the company. And it had a really solid foundation. There was a great group of people who were a part of it. And we were brand new to San Diego. So for us to even think about potentially building this from scratch, we don't have a network here yet.
Yeah.
So this already had that foundation for us to start from here and really run with it, coming out of this time where everything was virtual, nothing was in person.
Yeah.
How can we bring the in-person element back into the business community for people?
Yeah.
And how can we do it with intentionality and be something that's really different and unique to what typical standard kind of networking is?
I feel like what 6 Degrees is doing really well is it's connecting a large community of different niches. It's really like top tier type of connections that you meet there.
That's been a really beautiful part of having that foundation of members.
Yeah.
And then continuing to attract really amazing people. I think and I don't want to call it luck. I think because of the way that we do everything with being intentional and our purpose and values being the forefront of everything that we do. I mean, it is displayed at every event, our purpose, all of our values, because that is so important to who we are. And we wanted to make sure that wasn't just who we are as a company. It's also for the community and the people that we attract, right? Yeah. So it becomes really simple to track behavior of people who are testing out the waters and seeing if this is a right fit to see how well they do align with our values and if their behavior matches up, right?
Yeah.
It's for us, we want this to be a community where people feel safe to be vulnerable and to grow in more ways than just business, but to even grow ourselves as leaders and as professionals in the community.
Really help people break the ice, like I said. And can you kind of talk about that process that you created with like onboarding new people within the club or in the membership process?
Yeah. So I personally sit down with, or at least Eric or myself will personally sit down with every person that we think would be a good fit or is interested, whether they get introduced to us through a member or online, wherever it might be. I want to have a conversation. I want to really understand what their goals are, what they want from their business, how they really truly view relationships and how they want to go about building out their network, because that's really important. We want to step away from some of the transactional environments that can be networking.
Yeah.
A lot of people I feel like are jaded with their networking experiences because it has come from that transactional place. So we want to make sure that we are bringing in people that are really there for their clients. So they're client-centric.
Yes.
They're growth-minded. They are true professionals, so that we can come from a place of equal and come from a place of wanting to help others. I think it's the same as when people say that within the first 10, 15 seconds of an interview, it really says a lot about a person.
Yeah.
And it's true. I mean, people show up the way that they are going to normally show up.
That's very true. I mean, you really hit the nail on the head with like transactional being like a common motif with, all networking events. It's like me as a business owner, when I go to a networking event, sometimes my mindset is like, oh, I need to sell. I need to find a client. I need to, provide and prove my values so quickly. But I think with the 6 Degrees, it was a nice calming experience. Like everyone knows, like we're all on the same page. We're like-minded individuals here. Like, let's just kind of ease into these conversations and see where we can go in the future. It's not happening like super quickly in the initial conversation, but like building those strong relationships in the beginning, and just like that conversation and the communication is just really easy to have with people there.
Feels genuine when people are actually curious about who you are, instead of coming from a place of how can you help me? Right. So I try and shift the mindset for people and give people the idea that when going to a networking environment, think about what a current client of yours needs. What's a challenge that your client is currently facing? And maybe you have several clients who have pretty similar challenges just based on your industry. right? And so then go into the event actually thinking about ways to meet people that can solve those challenges and create solutions for them. Instead of thinking about how can this person help my business, or how can I close this person for business, and thinking from more of a, how does my business grow from it? Because if we help our clients, then they are going to naturally want to help back, and they're going to want to refer, and they become a really great power partner.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with some of the just members in our community. So we have what's called growth groups, and it's a group of about 12 people. They meet every month for an hour and a half. And again, how can I actually walk into an event and think about my growth group and the members in that group and what they need for their business? Yeah. And so then instead of trying to sell myself all night at this event, it's actually, hey, I'm going to think about John and Cindy and what they need for their business, and actually try and help find connections for them at the event. So it's, again, just different angles that people can come from to actually be helping others that will end up creating more business for you.
Yeah. And I like your tailored approach. Like, it's very intimate with the way you're interacting with your clientele right now, or the people that are, attending these events. Like you said, you are helping people connect. Like, you are doing that, like, internally.
Right.
And that's very special right now. And I know as the business develops and grows, I'm sure you're going to, create ambassadors and people to help you kind of take over that process. But I mean, watching you do that right now, and me being a business owner, I know how complicated that is to like create that engagement and like stay on top of all these like names and all these industries that these people are in. But I think it really just goes back to like the authenticity that you're trying to market. And that's kind of what VCA is trying to do as well right now. Like, the authenticity of content creation and storytelling is so important. So like, really you getting to know everyone and their personal stories, and really remembering their names, and really remembering like what they do and their specialties and expertise is unheard of right now, especially in San Diego. I don't really see much of that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a lot different. Just my personal experiences of going to other networking type events and communities. And I think a really big piece of that is most of the other organizations I've attended, it's more of a side hustle to someone's actual career, right? And that's amazing, right? That's so smart to create a network for yourself that's going to help your business grow.
Yeah.
So for us, for Eric and I, this is our only business, is 6 Degrees. And so the care is throughout everything that we do.
Yeah.
And people feel it. It feels different because, like you said, we are taking the time to really get to know our members and even the people who have visited as guests to really understand how we can potentially make a life-changing introduction.
Yeah. Well, and you said you don't really come from a business mindset, but yet that is good business. Right?
Oh, for sure.
So you definitely learn from the people around you, and you're just a natural entrepreneur. So to see that, it's really inspiring.
I appreciate you saying that, because entrepreneur was not something that I ever thought was going to be my title. So it's definitely been fun to continue learning just everything about business through our members. And I think that's another thing that people don't always understand when it comes to being a part of a community like this. So many people come from a one-track mind of, I need a very specific ROI. And what I mean by that is I need an introduction that turns into business. Instead of the opportunity to say, hey, I'm in a room full of really smart people, whether they're solopreneurs, small business owners, business development roles. We all have different things that we're really great at. That's why we're here. So how can we learn from each other so that then I take that knowledge and I use it to close a client, and I use it for my business. That's also an ROI. Sometimes people have a hard time seeing it that way.
No, I agree. I agree completely. I mean, just being there, there's brand visibility for yourself. That's an ROI. But like, I think just creating genuine connections is definitely a new metric that people are adding into like their way of analyzing how they're doing business, just genuine connections. And honestly, I think anyone that's in business always craves to have like that mentorship or that person that kind of guides them. So like having a group of people to kind of just give you tidbits of information is like you're compiling all this information, and it almost is like a specific mentor teaching you, but it's like a crowdfunded mentor. It's like, oh, I'm going to talk for this 15 minutes with this financial advisor, and he's going to give me all this information and like make me think differently for a second about my business, how I'm analyzing my finances. And then talking to this person was like, oh, you're a fractional CMO. Like, oh, you give people advice on their, marketing and their direction. And it's just like hearing these conversations, you really start to add it all up and just put it into your like arsenal of thought, and it helps you as a business owner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Something that has come up a lot lately. One of the types of events that we do is really an opportunity for our members to come forth with a specific business challenge that they're facing. And it has been so common that the group is sharing that same challenge or experience. Yeah. And so then when we come out together as a full group and dissect how that experience and event went for everyone, multiple people will say, wow, it was actually really helpful for me to hear the way that person spoke about their challenge, because I'm also going through that. Yeah. So I got a different perspective on it, and I got to hear different questions that were asked based on the way that person presented it. And it was so helpful because of the challenge that I'm facing. Now I can apply that to my business too. Yeah. And it's been so common. There's probably a core, maybe 5 challenges that most business professionals are going through at any given time. Yeah. So then being able to hear other perspectives and opinions on it, and that right there is so helpful. It is really helpful. Yeah, and it's helpful in the sense of just like psychology and like where you're at. It's like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. Right. And it doesn't, like that inspiration, it kind of pushes you forward, like not to give up. And that's like what you need as an entrepreneur all day, every day. It's like, absolutely. Like you feel like giving up every day, but then that one little thing motivates you again. So it's like, putting this on your calendar every month really is like your dose of inspiration. Yeah, it really is. It's a roller coaster ride. And it's nice to know that I've got a whole train of people who are on that roller coaster with me. Yeah, straight up. And I mean, like hearing about you guys through my friend Nate, who is a financial advisor, and he, really was like, I think this place is going to be good for you in the sense of like what you're looking for, because he just already knows who I am. So you guys creating that like word of mouth type of network and people kind of auditing each other and like, hey, like you should go to this. Like that's great that just came out naturally. Definitely. Yeah. I am so grateful for the natural word of mouth and buzz that not only our members, but to your point, your friend Nate as well, who have experienced how different this is for being a quote unquote networking organization in San Diego. Yeah. And it's incredible the amount of people that have come to me and said, oh, I actually was at this other event and someone just kept talking about 6 degrees and how I really had to go to your event. And so that's why I'm here. That's an incredible feeling. Yeah. I can't even believe that sometimes, again, being brand new to San Diego and have created such a just organic and natural buzz. So we're super grateful for that. And so now at this point, we can actually work on the other parts of marketing that we haven't really gotten into because we hadn't really needed it at this point. And so now that the buzz is around, it's okay, now let's amplify it. That kind of leads into my next question is like, what are some challenges you face, operating this business? I mean, because it's like, there's a lot of wins and there's a lot of great organic connections, but I mean, there are ups and downs. Like, so what are some challenges that maybe you could reflect on and just, I mean, how have you navigated through them? I think one of the biggest challenges is being labeled as a networking organization, which is funny. It's literally in our name. Yeah. And it's hard because of the fact that, again, going back to people having been jaded by their networking experiences. And so having networking in the name and as what we are as a company, we're so much more than that. We are so much more of a relationship development organization. The ways that we help people actually understand how to communicate, how to connect, it's taking it a step further instead of going back to the transactional environment, right? So I think people really have to experience how we do what we do to understand, oh no, this is not just networking.
Yeah.
And so many of the other types of activities and exercises that we walk people through is also helping with their leadership skills and just really trying to create a space for, again, that vulnerability and for people to grow, not just their business, but themselves.
Yeah.
And so I think that's been a really big challenge, just to not just be labeled as a networking organization.
That's interesting. So the brand itself has been a little bit of a setback.
Yeah. Even just the name, I think is challenging.
Is that based off like market research from just like communicating with people and getting to know what they think, or like, how are you getting that information?
Yeah, I think it's definitely with like the first conversations I'm having with people before they've experienced anything that we do.
Yeah.
Because that's where I'm discovering where they've said, oh, well, when I've gone to this event or this event and this has happened, and they're providing all of these examples to me of what they have experienced and what they think networking is. And so that's where that's where I have to tell people, no, wait, this is different.
Yeah.
And come experience everything else that we're doing. This is actually why we have made the initiative to be members only and shift to our model, actually including, so that during our 45-day trial where someone can experience everything we do and not just come to our happy hour mixer, which our happy hour mixer, as you mentioned, I mean, like there's so much intentionality there.
There is.
It definitely feels different. And there's other events and there's other experiences that people just they don't even know what to expect for that.
Well, the light bulb just went off in my head, and it's not really intentionality that drove me to the mixer initially. It was a comfortability of like networking. That's what I know.
Yeah.
And that's what you're kind of saying is like what people kind of understand networking is.
Right.
Like mixers or like events like that, right? I have never been to like a dinner type of event where it was like totally tailored towards like engaging with other executives and like-minded business people and stuff.
Right.
So I think the comfortability aspect of networking has been instilled in us for so long.
Yeah, that's a really great point, is that just the comfort level, because so many people, that's another thing that they share when I'm initially talking with them is walking into a room full of 60 strangers and not knowing who to walk up to. What do I do? Scan the crowd, see if I know someone, so I can at least start there, or go to the bar and get a drink because maybe that'll help. And instead, and you've experienced this now that you've come to an event, is to make it more of a comfortable environment. I go through the entire guest list and I hand select people that I think would be valuable for you to meet while you are at the event, so that there is more of a roadmap and understanding of, oh, there are some really great people that I should meet while I'm here. Let me look for them. And there's even almost an icebreaker has already happened, because so many people have just said, oh, well, Kristina said we should meet. So hi, right? Yeah. So it's a nice just little intro and a way for people to initiate a conversation. Yeah. So that's been something that we've definitely brought in that has created that comfort aspect.
More often than none, a business person is very organized and like, they need like a strategy or a plan. So like by you just introducing that initial like, hey, meet these people, creates like a plan in our head.
Absolutely. I mean, some people have literally made it a game. Come up to me and they're like, I met one of two, I got to go find the other one. Yeah. Really funny. And whatever works for people.
Yeah. That's really cool. Well, I think that, 6 Degrees has done a great job, and I'm kind of curious to know where you're going to go in the future. Like, what are your next plans and like phases, and what are you envisioning for the future of 6 Degrees?
Yeah. So we are so focused on San Diego right now. When we purchased 6 Degrees, we were actually in 5 cities. Yeah. And we tried for a year to make it work, and they were virtual, and we were spending so much time, energy, effort, funds to try and really see what we could do with them. And if we would have been smart, we would have cut ties at the beginning of it. And so we do have a vision for expanding to other cities. And when we do that, we want to make sure that we have such a solid foundation here in San Diego. Okay. We have been making such a huge impact in our members' careers and in their lives. So we know that what we're doing here is super special, and it's going to continue to even impact the San Diego community, the San Diego business community. So we want to continue to expand here. We want to start growing our team this year. We want to start bringing people in. That's something that I know for sure Eric has always envisioned, and I'm actually getting way more excited to do that now too.
Yeah.
I want to be a company where people are so excited to work for 6 Degrees and the members.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm just trying to think more and more and more of, and operate from a position of I am this, so I can provide for people, right? So the difference between have, do, be, and be, do, have.
Yeah.
Right. So most people operate from have, do, be. If I don't have this thing, then I can't be this person. And so instead trying to come more from the mentality of I am this so that I can have this. Right. So that's where I'm really lately have been shifting my mindset of how do we grow a team, and again, aligns with purpose and values, and really wants to be part of the bigger picture of impacting all these people's lives. And then once we feel really good about San Diego and having a team here, then it's how do we think through launching another city and what that looks like for that city, and kind of just go from there. We have cities that are definitely in our mind of where we would want to go next. And I think there's just different factors that would tie into that we still need to do some more exploring.
Yeah. Yeah, that internal mission really aligns with my business, and my mindset. So I totally am like on the same page as you, because I mean, it's all about intention and bringing on the right clients for me. And if I grow too fast, then, maybe those clients that I brought on in the beginning aren't going to really like that I'm not spending enough attention on them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I totally get where you're coming from, where it's like, you're trying to find that balance where it's like, how fast do we grow, but how do we not lose like that real passion behind it?
I know of other organizations that have successfully done that, where people can travel to different cities and still be part of the community if there's something going on in that city.
Yeah.
And I think that's great.
Yeah. No, that's great. No, your story is very impactful. And I think where 6 Degrees is headed is where most networking events need to be headed. I appreciate, one, for you inviting me into your space to talk about this. I think you're right. I think there needs to be more genuine human to human connection, especially with the more that AI technology becomes even more prevalent in our society, and is going to take over a lot of our current human to human interaction. So I feel like this is really important. I feel really excited that this is where Eric and I landed, so that we can continue to think of ways of how the human connection can just be more involved in all aspects of our life. Love that mission. And I definitely don't want to go deep into the AI stuff, but I'm there with the human connection. Like the authentic connection is definitely necessary right now. And I think that as, we all log on to social media every single day, we start to see it more and more, people creating different types of content and different types of marketing tactics to engage more authentically and organically and tell stories more. And stories are more prevalent than ever now. It's like they're more necessary than ever. So
absolutely,
your story is very important, and I'm very excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I appreciate that so much. I'm excited too. And I'm excited that we're connected now. And I love being a part of anyone's just business journey and success and seeing how it grows. I think that's probably been one of the most fulfilling things that I've ever experienced. I mean, I will be so honest, these past few years have been the most challenging years of my entire life, and the most fulfilling years as well.
Yeah.
So it's so beautiful. And I feel like I just have a front row seat to watching all of my friends succeed and do amazing things. Again, not just business, but also personally. And that is, it's just so exciting to be part of that. Yeah. Maybe in a year we revisit, we do another one.
Yeah.
It's see like the difference between the two. And it'd be really fun.
Part 1, part 2.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Kristina.
Yeah. Thanks.
That's it. So,
cool.
all right.